I slept like a baby last night, in part because I went to bed so late, and also in part because of the debate. But it's also always in part because of Sunset Lake.
Oh,
Sunset Lake Sebede.com. That's right, folks. SunsetLakeSebede.com. Use the coupon code Left is Best. You get 20% off. 20% off their Goodnight Oil Tincture. 20% off of all their tinctures, their flour, their keef, their pre-rolls, their fudge, their coffee, their salves, their gummies. They have some with THC, some with Tehaltanan, and some with lion's mane and cordyceps. They have all sorts of different gummies there, depending on whether you want to relax, you want to get a little sharper, whether you want to get a little bit loosey-goosey, if you know what I'm saying. SunsetLakeSebede.com. They have, they're all third-party tested ingredients, and you can find what's in this Sebede on their website. They break it down, a certain amount of Sebeden, Sebede, on and on and on. But you will not find pesticides there because they don't use pesticides. They use integrated pest management to deal with their pests. They also use regenerative farming practices that they've developed with the University of Vermont up there because they're up in Vermont. They are also movement partners with great business and political practices, frankly. They're mostly employee owned, $20 an hour minimum wage. They have donated thousands upon thousands of dollars to things like strike relief funds, carceral reform, refugee resettlement, Planned Parenthood. They've engaged in mutual aid up in Vermont in the wake of the Vermont floods. Just all around great company, great product. SunsetLakeSebede.com, 20% off. Left is best. Now, time for the show.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
And I get the feeling you've been cheated.
It is Wednesday, September 11th, 2024. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Kamala Harris dog walks Donald Trump in what is likely their only debate. Meanwhile, Harris secures what can be called a first-order win as the media proclaims her the winner. Progressives may be the only ones who took a little bit of a soft loss last night. And, of course, Emma, as the media fawns over the Taylor Swift endorsement.
oh my gosh.
We don't have to discuss it.
So ridiculous.
Inflation rate hits its lowest points since early 2021.
You're baiting me like Harris baited Trump.
Exactly. New data. Last year, U.S. incomes rose 4%, but so did the poverty rate. Missouri Supreme Court restores abortion measure to the ballot. Meanwhile, North Carolina in total disarray because of RFK's attempt to stay on the ballot. Last primary of the year yesterday. Biggest story, we are likely to see our first trans Congress member. Today, of course, 9/11, marking the 23rd anniversary of terror attack on this country, which led this country down a wormhole of forever wars and lots of surveillance. Meanwhile, New York Times tech workers vote to authorize a strike. Israel seems to be gearing up to annex parts of Gaza. Pakistani police arrest Imran Khan allies. And in what appears to be a reversal, the New York Police Department commissioner is challenging Eric Adams to fire him. Seems like he doesn't want to be a scapegoat for what likely could be Eric Adams' own problems with the police. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
It's Hump Day.
It is Hump Day. We got a little bit of a late start. Apologies, folks, but we were up late last night.
Yes, some of us were up even later, rewatching the debate like a psycho. That's what I was doing.
That was pretty psycho. That was also pretty predictable.
Some of us were pulling sound drops.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats.
I asked. I texted my daughter just before the show, and I was like, "Did you watch the debate? If not, we're doing a full recap." And she watched. I watched the whole damn thing, bruh.
Wow.
Yep. She said it was effing insane, and that was so my little daughter. Yeah.
This is a total aside, but it was in that Siena polling. They asked a question, I think, of about whether or not Trump was too insulting to Harris or something like that. And the numbers for people who are younger, it was not the same as the people that were used to Trump basically said no. The younger generation, it's like people. We have to realize they grew up with Trump. This kind of stuff is normalized for a lot of our youngest voters. So that part's interesting. But if she thinks that Harris did well, that's a good sign.
Yep. All right. Well, there you go. We're going to go deep into this, but let's just start. We tried to come up with what would be the most obvious clip that we could use to explicate how the debate went for Donald Trump. And we should say the debate was on ABC television, but they broadcast it. They basically gave the feed to everybody. We did our commentary on our burner channel. It's not really, it's our backup channel.
The live event channel.
The live event channel, rather. And I would encourage everybody, head over to Majority Report Live and subscribe there. You can put on the notifications. If we're there, it's usually because it's a backup or some type of special situation. So you're not going to get inundated with notifications. We don't post there on a regular basis, but head over there and subscribe to that. In the meantime, though, the moderators actually questioned Donald Trump on some of his more absurd statements. Donald Trump has various layers of how serious the lie will be and how sort of just completely bat crap crazy. And they did all of the top level stuff. I have to say, I was a little bit surprised. One thing that we were looking for was for them to announce that they were going to turn on the mics when they do talk. They didn't announce that. They would pop on the mics when someone started to talk, but there wasn't that much crosstalk really in between. It was a little bit towards the end, but a lot of it was off mic. But ABC was surprising. They did this as if they know they're not going to do a second debate. And they don't really care one way or another.
And they acted like they had a job to do there.
Right. Exactly. We're not just the luggage. So how did Donald Trump think he did? Well, listen to this clip from Fox and Friends today.
Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
And the bloodbath, you were talking about the economy. It's a term that's used a lot when people are talking about a bad economy. What's your reaction to why didn't the moderators correct her?
because they're dishonest and because I think ABC took a big hit last night. I mean, to be honest, they're a news organization. They have to be licensed to do it. They ought to take away their license for the way they did that. Bloodbath was referring to the economy. Everybody loved the term because as soon as they heard the word, it's sort of a vicious word. But referring to the economy, they have created an economy. Bloodbath was the word that I used, and it was fine in that context. And they were trying to make it sound like there was a riot or something, and it was a bloodbath. IVF, I was a leader on IVF, the IVF, which is fertilization. I was a total leader on that. When I first heard about it, like right from the beginning, I was one of the leaders on it, and the Republican Party has been a leader on it. She tried to say it was just the opposite.
Now, I take this as Donald Trump threatening ABC and others if he becomes president, bringing up their license to broadcast. Seems like a threat to me. It's also indicative of how upset he was in the wake of the thing. Like, I don't even know what it means. I was a leader in IVF. A leader in what way?
He had in the debate said he was a leader in fertilization. Did he not last night? It was like, all right, that's one way.
IVF, that's fertilization. In case you didn't know.
I did a lot of fertilization.
For a long time.
Now, this, of course, is when I was in favor of abortion.
Yeah.
When you could afford to do a lot of fertilization. But
Back
now,
in the day.
this is, it is, I think it's indicative of how he thought he did. And we're going to go through a bunch of the clips to give you a full breakdown and an analysis. But first, a couple of words from our sponsors. One of our sponsors today is Factor Meals. What is Factor Meals? Basically, it is the thing that makes it possible for me to eat and serve Saul now he now knows. Like, I tried to play it off the first time. Like, I actually cooked it and prepared it, and now he's just like, Dad, it's Factor. And he loves it.
He loves it.
He loves it. We had like a shredded chicken, I can't remember, like a taco salad, but not with a salad. He's not huge on vegetables. But also grilled chicken with mashed potatoes. I mean, they have all sorts of things on their menu. And the beautiful thing about Factor is these are not frozen meals. They're all fresh. They are dietitian approved, and they come in, they have like various different types of options. They have like, if you're trying to lose, keep your calories under a certain amount, they have Calorie Smart. They have Protein Plus if you're, like a, weightlifty type of person, or you're getting in shape. Keto, they have vegan options. I want to thank Factor for supporting this program, The Majority Report, and ask you, what are you waiting for? You can get started today. You have the feel-good week of meals ready to go. You order it. I think you got to be the Tuesday before, and then it comes the following Tuesday, and you got your meals for the rest of the week if you want. Head to factormeals.com/majority50. Use the code majority50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. They have 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week. So you're always going to have new flavors to explore. Like I say, you can crush your wellness goals. They have dietitian-approved meals and ingredients you can trust. And they have a dessert. They have breakfast. As part of these add-ons, you can treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that have premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, blackened salmon. And here's the beauty. It takes 2 minutes. Like, literally, you put it into the microwave and it takes 2 minutes. I know this is like an obvious thing to say to a lot of people, but like I came late to microwaves, and now I know why we have them. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well-balanced. Head to factormeals.com/majority50. Use the code majority50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code majority50 at factormeals.com/majority50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. While your subscription is active, check it out. We'll put the link in the YouTube and podcast description. Also, last night, if you watched the pre-debate sort of stream I did on my phone, Emma popped into the studio. We pop in, and she reminded me to drink some Z-Biotics last night. Why?
I did too.
Because after a night like last night, where we drank a decent amount, for the debate, not as much as I did in the first debate, I will say that. I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I don't know if anybody does, for that matter. So I can either have a night last night or a great next day. But Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink, the world's first genetically engineered probiotic, makes it possible for you not to have to choose. It was invented by PhD scientists to help you feel better the morning after drinking. And here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in your gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme, and it breaks this byproduct down. All you got to do, make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly. You'll feel your best tomorrow. I mean, I'm tired. I went to bed at 1 o'clock in the morning last night. Emma went to bed at like 7 in the morning, apparently, because she wanted to watch the debate 4 times last night. But as far as feeling bad from drinking alcohol last night, nope.
Right.
Doesn't matter whether you're doing debate coverage, hitting the beach, hiking hidden trails, or attending outdoor concerts. Pre-alcohol can help maximize your time. Go to zbiotics.com/majority. Get 15% off your first order when you use majority at checkout. You can also sign up for a subscription using our code so you can stay prepared no matter the time or occasion. Z-Biotics backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/majority. Use the code majority at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring this episode in just about every way possible. You will find the links in the podcast and YouTube descriptions. All right, let's get back into this. Let's take a look at some moments from the debate that are worth watching. The thing that that I certainly was aware of beforehand is that one of the things that the Harris campaign has seen in terms of their polling is people, more often than not, almost every election is like this, they want change. And so the challenge for Harris is how to seem like the change candidate when she's obviously been in the administration for 4 years. Donald Trump has a similar challenge because we've seen him before, but people forget after 4 years.
That's why his favorables are up than when he left office.
Is this the first moment, her opening statement, this number 7?
Yeah.
Okay. So, or I should say, it's not even an opening statement. They didn't give them an opening statement. They start off with questions, and she clearly wanted an opening statement. But the point is, they ask, how are you better off now? Because it's the classic thing that you ask of an incumbent. She does not want to be seen as the incumbent.
Yep.
This was a challenge that she had throughout the debate, and frankly, nailed it every time. Like, it was always about looking forward, not looking back in terms of like the administration.
And at points, because Trump kept talking about Biden, and we'll get to that, I'm sure, but she said, I am not Joe Biden, and then would pivot and define herself as being forward looking. And she'd also sometimes go back and talk about Trump and COVID and some of the more chaotic things that he sowed. So that, like, the coaching on that front was extremely effective, and she delivered on and executed the game plan.
Yeah, apparently Tim Poolfan says the slogan from Veep when she ran for re-election as president was continuity with change.
It's really
incredible. And that is
incredible.
sort of like, that's what's happening. But check it out.
thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their number one issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid. And I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing. And the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year, because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
All right. And now, so she doesn't answer the question.
No.
Now, I think she could have, frankly, because she could have started off by saying 4 years ago, we came in and unemployment was at record levels.
Yep.
And our supply chain was completely screwed up and it would create inflation. And we were threatened with poverty and whatnot. And we came in, we started to do X, Y, and Z. Inflation is down. Those numbers there was probably access to them last night. I don't know if that's possible, maybe not, but certainly inflation is going down. The census information that was released today, wages, incomes are up. And she can say we cut poverty, and unfortunately, because of the Republican Party, we weren't able to maintain that. But we're headed in the right direction, and then she could have gone forward there. But she was like scrupulous from the beginning. Don't look back on and don't associate herself on some levels with the Biden administration.
Well, you could see that was her most shaky moment, honestly, because her voice quivered a little, right? I mean,
I think she was nervous.
I would be. I don't know about you. I'd be pretty damn nervous. Like I will get the rating soon, but I would imagine this is one of the most watched debates in history. Yeah, I mean. Again, I don't love the phrasing about the focusing on the middle class stuff, but it polls well in terms of people want to perceive themselves as middle class, even if they aren't. It's not the phrasing that I would use.
Opportunity economy is one of the sort of like most noxious things I could imagine.
And she didn't emphasize the stuff that is in her platform that's more progressive that we like the price gouging stuff. I was waiting for her to zero in on that. But as we said repeatedly last night, this is not for us. This is to assure people who are squishy about a woman, who are squishy about her being perceived as too liberal. This is about getting those people to vote for her. They're going for the moderate Republicans even. But I do think that there are people like that who would be willing to vote for Harris. And so it's not my favorite in terms of the expectation or for progressive policy in terms of how it was emphasized. But you see what the strategy is here, and I can respect that in and of itself.
Just from CNN, just a couple of statistics. Debate watchers said 63 to 37% that Harris turned in a better performance. Now, understand these group of watchers started off 50% saying Harris would do better, 50% saying that Trump would do better. So they had the exact same expectations, but clearly the people who thought Trump would do better changed their mind. Here's the other thing. Among voters who watched the debate and identify as political independents, Harris' favorability rose to 48% after the debate, up from just 30% before.
Yeah.
Now, like I say, I get nauseous when I hear the opportunity economy, because that is sort of that's Obama talk. That's
David Plouffe is
Clinton talk.
Yeah.
And I am excited that Harris won the debate, both I think in style and substance, and in terms of what the media said, and that it's going to help her get reelected. But we can do two things at the same time and be aware that there are going to be big, big challenges. We'll talk more about that later, but big challenges as progressives, I think, with this administration, because there are other ways to have fashioned to do what she did last night. And the way in which she did it, effective. But like I say, there are other effective ways to do this.
I wish there was anything about the minimum wage, just anything at all. That's the kind of thing that should, that should have been fleshed out. And honestly, the moderator should have been asking those questions. But the minimum wage hasn't been at the forefront of any of this.
Well, she could also have referred to it as the caring economy. An opportunity economy is very oriented towards, it's really, but
bougie.
Again, effective for what she wanted to do. And let's, we will have time to sort of critique this and begin to talk about, hopefully we'll be in a position to be on guard about this stuff, and to the extent that we can push back on it.
But to your point, just briefly, when she opens with "I was a middle class kid," that was because she expected there to be an opening statement, and she was struggling for a second to pivot because she moved to her economic talking points when she thought that she was going to be able to define herself, because part of what the polling shows is that people don't know her well enough. Yep. Right? So she didn't get a ton of opportunities to do that, which I'm sure she's a bit frustrated by. But after that answer, once Trump started melting down and she successfully triggered him, her confidence grew with every question.
Yeah.
And it got better and better. But he got triggered so early that people say it's in the first 20 minutes of the debate is when you win it. She won it in the first 20 minutes because he fell apart really quickly.
The point you just made about her wanting to communicate who she is. To all of us, it's what? People don't know who Kamala Harris is in terms of the polling shows that there was, something like 50% of undecideds felt like they didn't know enough about her. ABC certainly is aware of that. And I wonder if in their minds, they're well, we're going to inhibit her opportunity to sort of flat out, giving an opening statement is sort of
standard,
pretty standard. And the idea that they came right in quick. Now, I think it was effective as a journalistic tool because it certainly caught them off guard. And I think, it showed, though, that she could make that pivot fairly well. But here is where I think she was the strongest. And I think everybody watching the debate last night who watched the first debate, not everybody, I'm saying people of our ilk, it was the question of abortion, which really was oh my God, 6 weeks ago, Joe Biden couldn't answer this question, or whatever, it was 2 months ago. And he
doesn't
staying in the race.
He doesn't like to talk about abortion. There were reports that his guy I'm forgetting what's that advisor that got kicked off.
Mike Donnellan.
That Donnellan was reportedly saying that they thought that the Democrats overperformed in the midterms in 2022 because Biden was so moderate on abortion.
Bro.
Psychotic. Like, this was such a breath of fresh air. One, as you know, to see a woman do this, it's gratifying. I think, I think it plays really well with other women. And then two, just the way she was relentless in how she went after him on this issue. It was incredible to see in comparison to how Biden couldn't do it.
The major contrast, yep.
Yeah.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration...
Pause it for 1 second. I just want to make another comment, too, about the commentators. They're doing very good journalism here, because the standard practice in these type of questions is, President Trump, what's your position regarding abortion? But the fact is that, we have an extensive history of where Donald Trump is on abortion. And it has both been like, yes, he vowed to get rid of Roe v. Wade in 2016. And then he boasted of getting rid of Roe v. Wade in the run-up in 2020, or I should say, over the past couple of years. And then he also has moderated his position as he realized, like, this is a loser. And he has no opportunity to deny any of that because of the way this question is framed.
Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban, because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job.
Virginia.
But the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for
Pause it for a second. I mean, I think we said this during the debate, but if Tim Walz is actually for executing babies, without the permission of the parents, this is not a guy I can get behind.
Totally.
Look, we do things differently out in Minnesota.
But also notice her face. Like, she was really well prepared, and apparently Trump was doing like policy sessions, not debate prep with
I don't need debate prep.
with Matt Gaetz and Tulsi Gabbard, and oh boy did it show, because she prepared a lot, and including like where the camera angles were and and the bemused face that she was gonna do when he acted ridiculous.
Which Joe had no idea about the camera last time, remember?
Joe was going,
oh, no, it was a complete disaster.
She's subtly mocking him, but not too much to be off-putting.
Yeah.
Okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, Every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not.
Hold on. Wait a
fact.
second. Notice she didn't say territory, though, right? What's going on in U.S. Samoa is full on baby.
The Northern Mariana Islands.
Come on.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear.
Let's also be clear. He's referring to who I can't even remember.
It was Ralph Northam, former governor of Virginia.
There are instances where babies are born and they are terminal.
I think the words with this case were deformities and non-viable.
And so the question becomes then, what kind of palliative care do you give for a baby that has been born where it is clearly terminal? They have been born without, with half the brain missing, or with, problems with the lungs, or whatever it is. And it's clear that they cannot survive. The question is, what kind of palliative care do you give? It is, it's not the same, but it is akin to the idea of someone who has been, in a vegetative state or beyond, actually. It's actually even more so than that, because they will not necessarily survive, regardless of what you do.
Maybe as horrible a situation as happens in medicine, and it's not just for the newborn, but also the mother. And so I imagine we don't need Republicans politicizing this sort of.
But that is exactly what they've done. Go ahead.
After it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes.
Can we just hear his response a little bit? Because I have a point to make.
Because again, it's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came to your desk?
Well, I won't have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50 and essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of when they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea and how unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free.
Talking about
but
abortion?
They were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a
But
yes
here's
or
this
no,
part,
because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D. And I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it. Just
We
like
don't
she
have
couldn't
to
get
discuss
student
it.
loans.
That's
They couldn't
really
get
it. I mean, why I want first of all, there's so much there. So he didn't. The campaign was probably telling him, don't give the abortion issue life. Don't come out of this debate with a major headline about abortion because that is your weakest issue. So he tried to dance around it, but the moderator follows up because Vance said that publicly, right? But Trump has been, I think, like he's not said on camera that he would veto a national abortion ban.
No.
He's never said it. Vance was trying to backfill because they know it's an issue for them in the general election. But Trump got in trouble with abortion activists after he said, because he didn't know what he was talking about, that he would vote for the protections in Florida for abortion, right? He thought he was talking about his own policy position, then he had to walk it back. So he's worried about evangelical turnout, I think, for himself. But I mean, that's what he's trying to do, but he won't say it publicly because he doesn't want to be on camera saying that 100%. He would veto a national abortion ban. And then he went into that student debt thing, which was so clumsy because he actually could have found a way to smartly hit them on the fact that they weren't able to get student debt cancellation through because the Supreme Court axed it with his justices, but he could have found a way to lie about that. He was extremely clumsy there, and he couldn't stay on message because those were his own Supreme Court justices. So yeah, like they tried to pivot and say that he would veto a national abortion ban, but he's unable to do so. I had one more point, but go ahead, Sam.
Shortly after that clip we played, Trump then tries to turn the table on Harris.
Yeah.
And says, what about abortions in the 8th and 9th month? Now, remember, this guy is talking about that Democrats are in favor of executing children who are born. But she sort of dodged the 8th and 9th month, which, again, I'm a little bit surprised we're not hearing more about that. From a perspective of, wanting Harris to win, I'm happy that we're not hearing more about that. And in that sense, I guess it was judged effective. From the perspective of a woman's right to choose, I do not think that at any stage there should be any hesitance by any Democratic politician to give full-throated support to the right of a woman to have an abortion in the 8th or 9th month if it is in consultation with her doctor. And the number of abortions that take place in the 8th or 9th month is almost immeasurable, somewhere between 1.5% and down. And the reasons for that are almost 90%, 95% health related or and then 100% access related prior to that. I think that she should have had an answer for that so that she could go on to say, Roe v. Wade was the law of the land for 52 years. We had virtually none of the abortions that you're talking about in that 8th or 9th year. But this is a question of freedom for women. Now, again,
I don't think I agree actually in this context. That's just the one thing I would say is I think you're right. Broadly, Democrats shouldn't run away from it. But clearly the strategy in this debate was don't get into the crazy stuff. Let him say it, move on from it, and then define what you want to say. Because that's a conspiracy theory. So she didn't want to get into a debate about the 8th or 9th month. Don't play on his terms, right? That's why she didn't say it. Broadly, I think you're right about the Democrats need to be better about that. But the other thing is when he says we've gotten everything we wanted. Yeah, that's the point, dude. Like him continuously referring to leaving it up to the states. She's describing a reality that people are living in right now. And he face planted so badly on that issue because he couldn't address it. He's just saying we're leaving it up to the states. Yeah, we know. And this is the reality that she's making clear to people. So that was a horrible answer by him. And that was fairly early on in the debate. Things just started to fall apart from that point.
Also, I think
20 minutes in.
She walked up to the line by saying, like, you think they want this? You think they want that? If she does that, I almost, as like, I'm watching it again, I wish she says, like, you don't seem to care. Because now she can't really see what we're seeing, which is that split screen with him just going, stone-faced. But like, you don't seem to care in that moment. With that stone face, really, I think would have, but it's easy. That's a hindsight type of thing. Okay, let's move on to, we talked before the debate, like, would he bring this up? No, can't be. As you know, it is past Labor Day, and a Republican is running for national office. And over the past 8 years, that means that there's going to be some type of immigrant scare, whether it's a caravan or whether it's MS-13 or whatever it is. And what happens is this stuff emanates out of like people like Charlie Kirk and whatnot. And then all sorts of like right-wing outlets and, even some centrist ones will start to like promote these lies about immigrants. Venezuelan gangs are taking over all the real estate in towns. Haitian immigrants are eating cats and dogs. And we wondered beforehand, like, no, he can't possibly. But
whoops,
he did. This is their exchange on immigration.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about.
Now pause it for 1 second. I just want like she chooses to deploy this now, right? Like she could have tacked this on to any of she could have tacked this part, which she's going into, which is the full trigger mode, on any other part of her answers. But she does it on the back of immigration, which I think is interesting.
It's his best issue on polling.
But it's his best issue on polling, but she also does it after she deploys that thing, which I think is really, we're going to hear a lot more of. He'd rather run on a problem instead of fixing the problem, because that is sort of like, that's like, you know, injecting West Wing stuff into the veins of people. Like we're going to see clips of independents saying this all the time. I listen to NPR. I'm a Republican. I like to hear that, you know, and he's going to have the opportunity to address a problem, but instead he's just going to go back crap crazy. And this is pretty masterful that they decided to deploy this now, or in this moment, and in the way that she pivots. All right, so just continue. I want people just to pay attention to that.
You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like
wait, David.
Kill that bill, and successfully so. That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a
Pause it
different
for a
light.
second. I just want to. We're going to title this episode, I think we titled it Harris Dog Walks Donald Trump. And this is what we mean. Like,
when they cut back to her face.
When you cut back to her smile there, in the back of her head, she's going like, cannot believe it.
As we scripted it.
Swish.
100%.
Hole in one. Like, whatever metaphor you want to use, could not have scripted it out better. Like, to the point where he goes, wait, I want to first address the rallies. When she's accused me of not dealing with problems, I want to address the rallies.
But the border can wait, okay?
Which is exactly like, so in terms of her immigration stuff, it's too far right. We don't like it, but she's not being specific about her plans, which is good politics. She's just hating him on the hypocrisy and hating him on not solving the problem.
Yes.
So I don't love, again, but it's this is effective.
Oh my God.
And then it's even more effective because she's the economy answer had already happened, right? Where she mentions how the Wharton School of Business said that his plan would be bad for the economy, which is where he went to school and he's very insecure about that. And then
a lot of my professors liked it. A lot of my professors.
And he wouldn't release his grades, if you recall, from that school. Like, these are just these little things where he's such an egomaniac. The right-wing media had been begging him all week, don't take the bait. Don't take the bait. And he does it in the first 20 minutes, and then this was the worst instance of it.
I didn't take the bait. I ate the entire fishing rod.
Yeah. That was the most impressive part about Harris, is her ability to, like, sprinkle those in and also answer the question.
She triggers him in the context of he doesn't care about you, and I will do it. Like, it's the sort of like the Gish Gallop thing, right? But he doesn't get past. As soon as, like, you can see when she said people leave the rallies because they're boring, his eyes go up like this, and then he hears nothing.
Yeah.
He hears nothing other than Mr. Trump. It's just
like artillery went off in World War II.
Yeah, go back. Exactly. It's like one of those moments in the movies where it's like. God.
So why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. And it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned,
Pause it for 1 second. I just want to tell you. I can tell you what is going on in Kamala Harris's head right now. Like, I cannot believe this fucking idiot just said what he just said.
Look at her face.
I cannot believe. She is like... She is so ecstatic. Like I'm surprised she doesn't fall down laughing.
It's like she's playing a slot machine, and all of a sudden, like the cherries line up perfectly, and oh, this is way more than I was expecting.
Right now, and what happens is she starts going ching 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 ching. Ching 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 ching, like like it pauses for a second.
I thought it was gonna be $25.
Oh my God! I won
2,500.
Go ahead.
The cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. And it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country. And if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is the
people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
But the people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying their
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
We'll find out.
So, okay.
Okay, hold on. Wait. Let me just say one thing.
Yes.
There may be people out there who do not spend all their time online looking at what, let's say, the right-wing lunacy is in the darkest, creepiest corners of the internet, or for that matter, what the Republican vice presidential nominee is tweeting about multiple times.
Yep.
There was a video of a woman stopped by the police who had killed a cat. That video is not from Springfield, Ohio. It turns out from Canton, Ohio, 2.5 hours away. The woman, as far as I can tell, is not of Haitian descent. She is definitely not a Haitian immigrant because she has been voting for over 6 years. And the Haitian immigrants who have been brought into Springfield have been done so under the temporary status, protected status program, which is a function of all the political and the political disaster situation in Haiti, and also the natural disasters. And so all of it was sort of made up, but it wasn't made up by Donald Trump. It wasn't made up by J.D. Vance. It wasn't even made up by Charlie Kirk. We have video of the guy who made it up. Here it is. This guy his name is Nathaniel Hagers. And he is the first person who seems to have brought it up in the city of Springfield, Ohio. And he is at a city commission meeting talking about Haitian migrants. Nathaniel is a fairly well-dressed young man who also happens to be a member of the neo-Nazi group Blood Pride.
Oh.
Nathaniel Hagers of Blood Pride. I was at the head of the anti-Haitian immigration march earlier this month. I'm sure the Honorable Mr. Rob Rue recognizes me, considering he supposedly knew of our action before we even arrived.
He's a literal Nazi. He marched with swastikas.
First of all, I would like to dispel the myth that you knew of our march and intentionally had no reaction or made no forewarning about it as a preventative measure. You had no more idea than the police officers or Haitians. And it's frankly insulting to our organization to make such a claim. Second, I've come to bring a word of warning. Stop what you're doing before it's too late. Crime and savagery will only increase with every Haitian you bring in. And with it, public frustration and anger.
You sound threatening to me. I'm going
Based on the comments
if I could
tonight,
ask the police to go ahead.
I'm sure I don't need to tell you that.
Just sound threatening if you go ahead and just peacefully be removed.
These people didn't ask for this. And they deserve better than to have to put up with violent,
Thank you
unruly
so much.
outsiders.
You're done. Thank you. That's all. Thank you so much. Not really thank you, but.
Boom.
That's the guy it's attributed to, apparently, for helping stoke, if not develop this meme. And it now, to be fair, that was what was it in August? I think the late August. So it took, a full 2 weeks before Donald Trump was announcing it on a national stage.
By Elon Musk.
And immigration is supposed to be the issue where he can, I don't know, at least run up the numbers. That's his best polling issue, and the economy too, but she's closing in on that. He went to the most unhinged place that he possibly could after taking the bait on the crowd size and then not addressing her attack at all and putting forward the most insane conspiracy theory that anyone has ever heard in their lives that was funneled in from a neo-Nazi group.
And to be fair, also 4chan, apparently, there was a lot of promotion of this on 4chan, which is also, not terribly surprising. But you sort of want your president or would-be president to have enough people around him and him himself to have the sense to maybe not push this. But the point is, this is what his people want. J.D. Vance is not out there because he's concerned about the pets in Springfield, Ohio. He's not some type of ASPCA zealot who is afraid of what's going on with the pets there. He is pushing it to his people because this is what they believe is going to drive their voters. This is what is a big part of it. And this moron, Donald Trump, was stupid enough to remind people of that, of the sheer sort of hatred of immigrants. And again, these immigrants are here legally. These immigrants are not undocumented. They are here legally. They are refugees. And on top of which, and I don't know why this needs to be said, but it's helpful. They are great additions to the community. Do they need more resources? Yes. The federal government has provided a grant. Also, apparently, DeWine had made a decision yesterday to provide more funding for Springfield. He runs some type of like charity out of Haiti. But here's a clip from PBS on a documentary, apparently. This is from a couple of days ago. And so this has been an issue within the context of Ohio. It's like there are, as you can see, a couple of weeks ago, neo-Nazis marching against the influx of Haitian immigrants. What's going to happen in this city once the bigots calm down is that they're probably going to have like a renaissance of an economic renaissance in that city. Here is this PBS NewsHour report.
Slowly, we had an application pool that was a little bit different.
People coming to work here.
People looking for jobs. What he's welding here again are welded
pause it. I'm sorry. We started this a little bit late. Go back a little bit. And he is basically talking about the Haitian immigrant workforce that he has built here. Just take.
Live and work here. TPS was then expanded by the Biden administration. Mirsu says he came to Springfield for the same reason most Haitians did. He heard that housing was cheap and jobs were plentiful.
It started slowly. We had an application pool that was a little bit different.
People coming to work here.
People looking for jobs. What he's welding here again are welded axle components.
Jamie McGregor is the CEO of McGregor Metal, which makes welded parts for the auto and farm industries. Right now, about 10% of his workforce is Haitian, over 30 employees.
I wish I had 30 more. Our Haitian associates come to work every day. They don't have a drug problem. They'll stay at their machine. They'll achieve their numbers. They are here to work. And so in general, that's a stark difference from what we're used to in our community.
All right, pause it. I mean, first off,
the sudden arrival of so many.
Pause it for a second. Now, there's something I find gross about this, to be honest with you. That just the idea that, like, this guy's like, oh, there's I define these people by their capacity and their willingness to work. But within the context of this community, the idea that these, and make no doubt about it, to have any influx. I mean, if 20,000 new people from Ohio moved into Springfield, Ohio over the course of whatever it is, 4 or 5 years, I mean, it would create issues.
A lot of rich people moved into Montana during COVID, and it has created lots of housing issues there.
Yes, I mean, there's no doubt about it. But then the question becomes, okay, you have growing pains with a small city. Where are you going to be after you work through these growing pains? And it is quite clear from just this, that they're going to be in a better place. You're going to have the misery that this guy is talking about that has been there with the, I guess the existing population in Springfield, where the guy says, like, he's basically saying, like, I couldn't get people to come and reliably hold jobs. That we had a lot of drug problem issues. That comes from an economic deprivation that's going on there, from a lack of services, and from a dying city.
Yeah, it's a dying city with a lack of labor supply.
And this influx of people who are interested in improving their lives within the context of this system that we have, is going to salvage this city.
Immigration is good.
It's economically beneficial. It's not demographically beneficial if you're a white supremacist. But the key is to organize it and make sure that it is not exploited. By I don't trust CEOs to see these people as anything other than like a cheaper input. But yeah,
let's just hear the rest of this.
To work, and so in general, that's a stark difference from what we're used to in our community.
McGregor acknowledges the sudden arrival of so many new immigrants is a challenge on multiple fronts, but he believes this is partly how the industrial Midwest can regrow.
We want more jobs in our community, and in order to fill those jobs, some jobs need to be people who are not originally from here.
there's things in the last 5 years that have really changed and has been
Okay.
forward.
All right. Well, that's it. And incidentally, he says like these immigrants are going to help the industrial Midwest regrow. Guess what helped it grow?
A lot of immigrants.
All right. Let's go back to Donald Trump's immigration thing and just wrap that out because this is. I mean, I think like, they couldn't have sketched this out. There's no way in their wildest imagination that she's going to say this about the rallies and he's going to be talking about them eating cats and dogs.
Right.
Like if an advisor to Harris said, hey, talk about the rallies and he's going to trigger him and he's going to be talking about cats and dogs, everybody's going to go like, yeah, okay. It may,
sure.
It may trigger him, but he's not going to do that.
But it's exactly how she wanted it to play out, both in the sense of like his campaign wanted him to look more moderate on abortion, as we mentioned earlier. That's why J.D. Vance was coming out and saying he'd veto a national abortion ban. But Trump didn't want to do it and is also incapable of discipline. And then this is the same thing. Like, this is an issue where he should be able to run up the numbers, right? But he couldn't help himself from going to the most extreme, conspiratorial, and insane place. And I think the cats and dogs thing is the soundbite. I think that's the big soundbite that came out of last night. And
do we have the Peanuts thing? Should we play that? I don't know how long of a clip it is.
I can send it, yeah, but maybe.
I already put it in there. All right, we don't need to play it. All right, so where are we now? Where is this?
This is just around the crowd sizes thing. Do you want to go a little bit further on?
I think we kind of got to that part. Yeah. We bookended it well by fact checking that insanity.
Well, that's the scary thing about that, because this is still a close election, and they are talking about massive deportations, and it would be communities like the one being demonized with Nazi hate, like that Haitian community in Springfield, and it's despicable, and it's crazy how fast that gets up the bloodstream.
Exactly.
To a presidential nominee and a guy who owns one of the key communications platforms in the world.
Well, let's also be fair. They're shopping for this stuff. This is not just a push dynamic. It's a pull dynamic.
Right,
They're looking for this stuff.
Give us something to work with.
And, in our conversation with Weigel yesterday about that, that reporting they have done on that Zoom call where somebody was basically saying, here's $10,000 or $20,000 for you guys, and we don't know who the you guys are. We know one of them was George Santos, and he left the call because he was disgusted by it, if you can believe it. We don't know if they were YouTubers. We don't know if they were Twitch streamers. We don't know if they were Twitterers. They're probably some combination of all of them. Rumblers. Push this. Get $10,000, $20,000. This is a constant cycle. And they seed this stuff, whatever bubbles up to a certain level, they probably have some type of threshold, where something's trending. They'll all try it. I imagine Donald Trump is out there. I mean, I know that's what happened with the Cernovich thing with me at MSNBC. It was when Gorka and Donald Trump Jr. retweeted Cernovich is when the problems began. That dynamics changed.
Right.
But that's the way that that's their business model. That's their model. All right, let's just do this last one because I think that wraps up the oh no, wait.
We've got more.
Oh yeah, we got more.
There's a lot.
Well, we don't need to go. I mean, if you watch the debate, there were many times where she would say the phrase "turn the page."
Yeah.
And the idea was, again, she wants to be the continuity but change candidate. She wants to be, I'm not old. She didn't call him old, but she didn't have to. She compared at one point towards the end, Biden and Trump.
Yep.
And said, we want something different.
And that's why
new,
he also, when he said, I saw it on television, that's what I wanted to say earlier about the dog eating. Well, I saw it on television in response to him saying there's no instances of it. That just came off as extremely old man grandpa yelling at the television without her even having to point it out.
Yep. Do you want to do 11 or should we do 12 or?
What's the best one?
12
Bradley?
might be good just because it's the by the whisker.
Yeah.
thing,
Okay.
and we
So
can
it
do
really, I mean, she called him on January 6th. He said, I had nothing to do with it. It was all Nancy Pelosi's fault. She was in charge of everything. I was just the president at the time and tried to grab the steering wheel from the Secret Service guy so that I could go. You know, I'll tell you something. In that answer, incidentally, it occurred to me as he's saying this that, like, I said, let's have 10,000 troops there. And they didn't want to, like, there was a lot of question about, like, Michael Flynn's, like, brother who is in charge of some of that. And I really wonder if, like, there was some sort of, like, part of their plan, in addition to having the Oath Keepers out on the perimeter, and the the Oath Keepers were out on the perimeter of Washington with weapons, incidentally, folks. I mean, this is all documented stuff. The Proud Boys were in amongst the crowd to get the crowd riled up and bust through the doors and beat up the cops. I wonder if they thought it was going to go one way where the presence of troops would actually help them. And that I wonder if Pelosi and the police chief of D.C. were a little bit nervous about how those troops were supposed to react.
We speculated about that at the time, I think.
I just, when he brought it up, it was like, I was like, wait a second.
Right.
This guy seems really plugged into what was going on that day in a way that, like, you know, I'm surprised. Like, why is he looking to have, you know, specific security measures? Donald Trump doesn't strike me as a detail guy unless it's for his own benefit. Like, why would you call for troops for a rally for what you think is going to be a peaceful rally? There was something really weird on that. But let's go to Donald Trump saying, announcing after he'd said, like, Ashley Babbitt shouldn't have died that day. Well, maybe she shouldn't have, but maybe somebody should have basically told his followers that he didn't actually win the election.
Focus truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically.
that.
You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls, and we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them Republican.
No judge looked at it.
And said
they
there was
said
no
we didn't have standing.
Fraud.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's
pause it for 1
news.
second. You so desperately want him to go, if you want the facts, go to My Pillow, text 665, and get 10% off of My Pillow.
doesn't matter because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by whiskers. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did, in fact, lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
All right, so there she goes, basically saying, like, he's losing his mind. He's either losing his mind or he's a horrible person. And, you know, to be fair, that does cover it.
Pretty much.
I mean, she could have gotten more specific, like untreated syphilis or something like that. But I think that, like,
my God, I would love to see his reaction to that.
Yeah. She used the "you're fired" line against him.
Yep.
His favorite line.
Yep.
And that was, you saw his face. That was one of his most visceral reactions.
Well, that's his face when he said, when she implies he's confused. He does know how to like mug to that because
Yes.
it's not like just like I raise my eyebrows, look up. It's like, ooh, this is kind of
the only thing that I would have liked that is that, like, he says that he got more votes than any sitting president, and that's true. Also, he also got more votes against him than any person ever.
2 records.
Yep.
And she just repeatedly, I feel like, triggered him in that particular area. And he didn't do... He took the advice sort of from all those right-wing pundits, don't go after her personally, right? But that's the only advice that he took, because he didn't overtly do racist and sexist attacks against her, but he did repeatedly refer to Biden as her boss, which I think is the kind of thing that is gonna, like, actually, people will hear that and go, ew, right? Whoa, you're diminishing her by essentially saying that her boss is Biden when you're both running for the same position in this instance. And then he was triggered in every other imaginable way that wasn't related to her. So even though he didn't necessarily go after her and say that she wasn't black, although he was asked about that. He was asked about that. Right. But they asked a question. He didn't bring it up on his own. He still fell on his face in every other way possible.
I don't know. She said she was black. She
That's
didn't
true.
say she was black.
I don't even care about it. And they're
I
like,
don't
sir,
even
you
care
said
about
it,
it.
though.
I'm
It's
gonna
like,
talk
well,
about
I
it.
said it because I heard it and I thought it was interesting.
I forgot that Muir and did ask him about that. Right.
And the one thing I guess he did say personally, which was tangential, was just saying right at the beginning that, her father is a Marxist economist and that type of thing.
Yes.
But I also think, as you said last night, Emma, him deploying the "I'm speaking" or "I'm talking" is it does not land the same way when Donald Trump is doing it.
Well, but here's the thing. He is once again. Oh, we got that little static again. He is once again, like, there is such a sort of online type of mentality about this. And to some extent that, there were opportunities for Harris to be a little bit more explicit about certain things. Like the cats and dogs thing. She could have said, like, this is a slur against them. Like it could have been more explicit, but only political junkies remember that she said that to Mike Pence.
Yes.
Only political junkies.
Yeah, and I
know what happened during the VP debate, one line from the VP debate, right? Like, and frankly, only political junkies who probably subscribe to some type of like, are aware of like girl boss movement type of thing,
You mean like Democrats?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. But I mean, like even like a subsection of Democrats.
You would get it on a mug, you know what I mean?
When he does that, there's no point of reference for most people who watch it. There's just people who go like, he seems a little bit like a bully. Because look,
in his own head.
Here's the deal. In his own head, he is talking to the incels. And again, like this is what they banking their campaign on. They are banking their campaign on being able to motivate men ages 18 to 45. And they do. There's a big gender gap. It's just a question of how many are out there and how many can they get off the couch to go and vote. And it could very well be high. If they win, that's going to be why they win. But this is the thing. He thinks in there, like, I'm going to motivate them by throwing that back in her face. But the problem he has is that for the rest of the people who are watching this debate, he comes off as being like an a-hole. Now, even if she had delivered the same line back to him or prior to that, it's not the same because there's history, there's context, and women can say certain things to men and it not seem as sort of like bullying as if men say it to women.
That's privilege.
Because we live in a society that actually has a context, right? And so the idea of like his boss stuff is one of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is trying to make it sound like she's not capable of being a principal. We got to deal with some of these wires here because that noise is not coming from this wire. All right. Will you turn down the...
I don't hear it, but... Oh, you guys hear it? Okay.
Yeah. And that's what was going on there. It's that ping thing, right? We figured that out yesterday. Remember, Bradley? Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well...
That takes it down. We'll deal with that in a bit. What else was there? Oh, there was two other points I wanted to make, and then we'll wrap it up, and we'll go and we'll look at the reactions.
Yeah.
One was that it struck me. There was in the context of Ukraine, she took the time to list off the weapons that we have sent. I can't remember the full list. I didn't write it all down, but she said, Abrams tanks and javelins, and this was her. And frankly, I thought it would be worse.
Like her most progressive answer was on the Afghanistan withdrawal, actually.
Yes, but I'm saying what I thought was worse was going to be, you're a woman.
Yeah.
There's going to be a fear amongst some cohort of voters that you are not going to be strong enough to be commander in chief. I mean, I was really struck by the fact that the words commander in chief, I don't think were uttered in that entire debate.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen a presidential election where the words commander in chief weren't brought up. I mean, certainly even by the moderators, which is fascinating. Like, we went through a period of time, this being 9/11, in the wake of 9/11, and by wake, I mean 3 years. Commander in chief was synonymous with being president, and it's not. Commander in chief is a subset of the roles that you have as president. And her listing the Abrams tank and the Javelin missiles, that is her way of trying to communicate that, like, oh, I know, I'm prepared to be commander in chief. But they didn't get that explicit about it. Towards the end, I think the last thing they were talking about, like, was, we're the strongest nation and we're going to, it was a
And
little
she
bit.
did bring up NATO, which I'm sure Biden was crying into his
Of
pillow
course.
that he wasn't able to do the NATO talk.
The other thing that she did, which I also found interesting, when you look back on Obama, his shtick was there's no red America, there's no blue America. Referencing and acknowledging that there are political differences, but he's saying there are big, deep political differences, but they don't define us. She never mentioned political differences in the context of when she was, talking about, her "let's get along" speech. It was all like the neighborly, folksy, sort of like Tim Walz-y stuff. She picked Tim Walz, as you mentioned last night. But like to adopt that type of rhetoric versus, we have political differences. By the same token, she also didn't say like bipartisanship.
That was refreshing.
And that was refreshing. It's just interesting to watch the lexicon change a little bit, and who knows what the implications of that will be. And then, of course, at the end, Trump closed by, talking about Hunter Biden.
Yeah, he as the night got on and he got a little more he got a little more tired. He kept bringing up Biden more and more because he just so desperately wishes he was running against him. We should note that, Israel, Gaza came up, was asked. She basically did this is a failure, honestly, of the media. Like, the moderators do the great job, but media more broadly, like, why is there no follow-up when she just repeats the exact same thing about like State Department copy as it relates to Israel and Palestine when it comes up in the Dana Bash interview and in the debate? There needs to be like, okay, is there going to be a shift in policy? Are you going to differentiate yourself? What is
that would have been the question.
That would have been the question, but it hasn't been asked of her at all, which is odd, or like at least more forcefully.
It's not odd because all of these media outlets are completely
but they followed up like
with
3 or 4 times on Ukraine, and
all of these media outlets are completely either afraid to in any way be seen as critical of Israel. They would give her that opportunity to say that she's not going to diverge or that she's just going to repeat what she's repeating. But, you can't. Our media, relative to reporting, even the Israeli media, is far more like sort of like
it's not just the two parties. Like, you saw what happened when Jeremy Corbyn was slightly critical of Israel and Labor, and the media is a huge problem there. And they're not going to help that new future be birthed. The current constellation anyway.
I'm just saying it's just frustrating to see her not really be forced to elaborate when she needs to be elaborating, and the media is complicit in that.
Without a doubt. PHX Dave, Trump using the "I'm speaking" line came out. Because Harris's mic was muted. Yes, but someone else said, who was it? I'm sorry, I just saw this on the IM, but I said they were speculating whether that was a Gates coaching. It was Gates and Matt Gaetz and Tulsi Gabbard. Who coached Donald Trump. And there is no doubt in my mind that Gates was like, you've got to use that line against her.
I love that they called it policy time, and he's like, because it's not debate prep, I don't need any help with that, it's just about policy. But one of them famously ended with them going up to his suite to watch her convention speech, so I guess not really policy, but anyway.
It was completely like, first of all, I don't know how you prep this guy for debate. He did better in this than he did with Biden, to be honest with you. But that was because nobody noticed, because Biden was like, playing Captain Pike, and nobody could, Biden wasn't reacting to anything. I don't know if you know, sorry.
I don't know Star Trek, yeah.
Yeah, no, this is a ancient, Biden was, if you go back and watch that debate, Biden looks honestly like he's not even aware of where he is for half the time. And that part of it was just the expression on his face, but he also didn't have the alacrity to, respond in time.
And looking at the camera.
Yes. All right.
Also wanted to point out, thanks to the IM or Dennis Prager's bathwater, that guy at that town hall, his name is probably not Nathaniel Hagers or Higgers.
Oh, it's probably that's a fake name.
Well, that's fine.
Just you guys can imply what that means.
Yeah, a covert attempt at a slur. So that he could speak,
and then
and not be identified. Yeah, we got
Nathaniel, then the last name.
got it.
Yeah, we got it.
Oh, Jesus.
We don't have to discuss it.
Newware on the IM says, I just became a member. I'm confused about this app. Is this how I send a message? The answer is yes. Folks, you can be like Newware or Netware or whatever on the IM and IM this show by becoming a member via our app at majorityapp.com. It is your support that makes this show possible. You can become a member. Join the majorityreport.com. Members get a discount. Check your email. Check your spam folder. If you didn't get the email, we'll send another email out because members will have first dibs on our live show on election night for a 15% discount. Insane. Absolutely insane. If I had been able to do math, it would have been closer to 10%. But I came up with a number. I don't know. Join the majorityReport.com. We'll send a second email out in the next day, and you'll have until Friday night. Also, justcoffee.coop, fair trade coffee and hot chocolate. Use the coupon code majority, get 10% off. Emma, ESVN.
On ESPN, we spoke about the first week in the NFL. We broke down Brady's broadcast debut and also the Tyreek Hill police brutality incident, which is horrible. YouTube.com/ESPN show.
Oh, somebody just told me that Harris did say commander-in-chief once.
Oh.
Darn it. Well, all right. There you go.
Matt, what's happening on Left Reckoning?
Yeah, Left Reckoning. Last night, we actually had a little debate preview that went a little early with Neil Meyer and Nick French. Before that, we talked about democratic socialism and where that sort of project is. Neil had an interesting piece that sort of broke down the progressive left versus the democratic socialist left versus the hard left, which I thought was kind of an interesting taxonomy. And yeah, check that out, patreon.com/leftreckoning.
Cup of Nad Dad says, and I'm an old member and I still don't believe this works. Show me that it works. Done. Folks. I see it. I see what that guy's name was. All right. See you in the fun half. Left is best. Jamie and I may have a disagreement.
Yeah, you can't just say whatever you want about people just because you're rich.
I have an absolute right to mock them on YouTube.
He's up there buggy whipping like he's the boss.
I am not your employer.
You know, I'm tired of the negativity.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. You're nervous? You're a little bit upset? You're riled up?
Yeah, maybe you should rethink your defense of that, you fucking idiots.
We're just going to get rid of you.
All right.
But dude. You want to smoke this joint?
Yes.
Do you feel like you are a dinosaur?
Some good shit.
Exactly. I'm happy now.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win.
Oh, hell yeah.
Now listen to me. 2, 3, 4, 5 times. 847-906-501-457-238-56-27. 1/2. 5 eighths. 3.9 billion.
Wow.
He's the ultimate math nerd.
Don't you see?
Why don't you get a real job instead of spewing vitriol and hatred, you left-wing Limbaugh?
Everybody's taking their dumb juice today.
Come on, Sammy.
Dance, dance, dance.
Rand Paul.
I had my first post-coital scene with a woman. I'm hoping to add more moves to my repertoire. All I have is the dip and the swirl.
Fine, we can double dip.
Yes, this is a perfect moment.
No.
Wait, what?
You make under $1 million a year. You're scum. You're nothing.
Excuse me? Fuck you, you fucking liberal elite. I think you belong in jail.
Thank you for saying that, Sam. You're a horrible, despicable person.
All right, gonna take a quick break. I want to take a moment to talk to some of the libertarians out there. Take whatever vehicle you want, to drive to the library. What you're talking about is jibber jabber.
Classic. I'm feeling more chill already.
Good. Donald Trump can kiss all of our asses.
Hey, Sam. Hey, Andy. You guys ready to do some evil?
Hitler was such an idiot.
That guy might be a Nazi.
Agree.
No.
Death to America.
You.
Yes.
Wow.
Wow, that's weird. No way! Unbelievable. This guy's got a really good hook.
Throw our hands up.
Ooh. Wow.
But Sam, I gotta get off.
No worries. Let's. I want to just flesh this out a little bit. I mean, look, it's a free speech issue. If you don't like me,
Hey, shut up!
Thank you for calling into the Majority Report. Sam will be with you shortly.
we are back. Emma will be back in just a moment. It's the fun half, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to some of the IMs. Michigan Mower. Hi, Sam. Emma, can I get a shofar for my wife Natalie's 30th birthday? Happy birthday, punk ass. That's what we call each other. That's my kind of relationship. Charlie Scherer. RFK Jr. spotted driving Trump's road-killed carcass toward Central Park to dump the body. Mega MCA. Did Taylor Swift eat Emma's childhood pet?
I mean, I don't know
I
why
don't even know why you
we have
even
to
had to
stand billionaires.
Oh my God!
It's
Oh my God!
ridiculous.
I can't believe that you had to respond to that.
I can't. It's so manmanufactured. It's ridiculous. It's just so annoying. Keep
What,
going.
celebrity?
No,
keep
her
going.
level
Keep
of
going.
celebrity. Oh Jesus!
Don't
All right,
stop.
I'm gonna respond. I'm like Trump with crowd sizes. I can't help it.
Can we talk about the
Cotton's-
Elon tweet?
Yeah, Tom Cotton's beard. Hey, where's Digby been? She's going to be here on Friday. We're like 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Last week we were off and we wanted to just do, what do you call it? Good job from Berg. Good job reminding everyone your brave SCOTUS nerfed student loan forgiveness, you effing nerd. Also, good job not talking to your VP pick about an issue you just said has torn our country apart for decades. We didn't talk about abortion. It didn't come up. All right. Yeah. Let's do Elon Musk, apparently.
Did
you just I have
No.
I actually
No.
felt like lasers.
No.
about to defend
No. I'm just tired.
Did you want to do Elon Musk just to
Maybe we should
trigger?
maybe we should save the Elon thing for when Emma's not here.
No, I'm.
Talk about his retaliatory sexual harassment, even though Emma's been victim of retaliatory sexual harassment by the same guy.
Well, we are compatriots here. Taylor and
Stablemates,
I.
yeah.
Taylor and I together at long and at last.
Finally, some unity.
Yep. This is called crossing the aisle, and she would cross the aisle by flying her
Diplomacy.
plane 5 minutes.
So, Taylor Swift, in her endorsement, I guess on Instagram, I haven't seen it, to be honest with you. She
You haven't
doesn't-
scrolled?
She doesn't do woodworking, so it doesn't show up on my screen. But apparently she said signed it like cat lady, right? Or something like that.
Signed a childless cat lady.
And Elon Musk decides that she was talking to him, apparently, and
No, he's not narcissistic.
that she was talking to him, and that it's not by her choice at this point, that it's just a question of apparently Elon Musk thinks that Taylor Swift can't find anybody to have sex with, or I guess that's
Procreate with.
yeah. Here's Elon Musk. Fine, Taylor, you win. I will give you a child and guard your cats with my life. This is like what happens when you spend billions of dollars of yours and other people's money on a social media site, and it's all going wrong for you. There's been nothing that's gone right for Elon Musk on this. The advertisers have left. The revenue is down. I guess he got Donald Trump to promise him, sort of some type of job, and he gets the attention, but it has screwed up Tesla, although I think it's also a function of people realizing like he's full of crap on 90% of the stuff he says. But
it's so creepy. I mean,
really weird.
You can read it as a threat of sexual assault.
He's throwing negative sexual tension her way. That's sexual harassment.
Oh, 100%. I mean, and he is obsessed with spreading his seed. It's so creepy. His natalism. I've been trying to talk about this a little bit on the show because I think that JD Vance is kind of aligned with these politics, but it's just like this notion of the necessity of procreation of certain kinds of people, right? Like Elon Musk thinks it's his duty to spread his seed across the planet because he's such a genius. And it's this God complex, but it's also you scratch a little bit and you get eugenics because they're like about in the same breath these same folks will talk about controlling birth rates in Africa and then say how he needs to be spreading his seed all over the planet. Like
this is just
Epstein Associates.
I mean, this is, I think, also a function of an incredible, deep insecurity that he will be meaningless in life. Right? I mean, this is a guy who has to amass billions upon billions of dollars. He needs to sort of put up satellites and space. He needs to literally be everywhere he can possibly be. And then he's fathered how many children?
At least 10, and many of them, right, don't have a relationship with him.
Well, this is his, and he's and his response to his trans daughter. This is a guy who is terrified of being meaningless and forgotten. So desperate. And I got news
because
for you.
He is a charlatan.
And yes, I mean, he has complete imposter syndrome. And part of that is because he's a total imposter. And he's just trying to figure out how can he have his money and his progeny outlive him so that it will give his life meaning. He's an empty shell of a man. If you need, first of all, if you need Twitter fame, period, just in general, you've got some deep-seated insecurity issues.
Yeah.
But if you need to buy it and rig it so that you have Twitter fame, it's it's another level. I mean,
or buy comedians to validate you too.
Yeah, the people that think this guy's a Chad, I mean, look
They're
inward.
bots at this point.
He just oozes insecurity and sad energy.
Well,
this guy's how many hair transplants has this dude had? He's so insecure about everything about himself, and for good reason.
And Kylie Chung from a Jezebel. Every time Elon speaks, I just think about the news cycle moved way too quickly past this settlement for sexually abusing a flight attendant. I believe that's the one that he offered to buy a horse for. And the Wall Street Journal in June about all the employees he sexually harassed or pressured to have babies with him. Man should be on a registry, yes.
Yep. Speaking of incredibly insecure, after the debate, there's a spin room. And the spin room is you basically, if you're a reporter or journalist, you go from one room, which is like a empty banquet room with a bunch of monitors, and you're watching the debate.
And people
like
are
everybody
writing on their computers.
They're writing on computers, and I mentioned this to Weigel. They're also looking at the other reporters to see how they react to what's going on in front of them, and I think that's sort of the way that they determine, how things land. And then your surrogates go into the spin room where all of those reporters leave the room after the debate and go in, and there's all these sort of people to give them their spin. And these people are there to sort of try and rationalize what happened and to interpret it into, lines that can be digested by the media. Your candidate doesn't go there because they've already done it on stage.
And they're supposedly in this time doing a victory lap. That's when they're supposed to be doing a victory lap. And like in 2016, I was on the spin room floor after the Hillary Trump debate, and we spoke to like Boris Epstein, and I think Rudy Giuliani was there at the time too. Like those are the people you're supposed to be speaking to who are surrogates for Trump. But Trump himself, it's a massive display of weakness.
He knew that he couldn't let the debate sit there out alone, and so he went to the spin room. And this is actually pretty hilarious.
It was the best debate I've ever personally that I've had. We're getting polls that show 92 to 6, 88 to 11. We're having a lot of great polls that just came out. There's full polls and lots of other polls, but you see the polls. A very important debate. Now, she wants to do another one because she got beaten tonight, but I don't know.
Why wouldn't you look at her?
The polls are indicating that we got 90%, 60%, 72%, 71%, and 89%.
Where are you getting these numbers from?
Very good. But beyond the polls, I felt very good. I had a good time doing it. I hate to speak about our country so negatively, but that's what happened. They ruined our country. They've destroyed our country. So I hope you're all having a good time.
Did she get on the
Okay, so he cited, we didn't really cite any polls, but he listed off like 7 sets of numbers, and there wasn't even today I can't find 7 flash polls.
Got an 89. I got that's like me giving my grades in high school. Like,
exactly.
I got an 89.
Yeah. Honestly, that is what happened like with Milo, and I asked her like what her grades were the first term of college. Oh, I think like 82, and like, oh no, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I could check exactly, but pretty much good.
I can't. It's on the computer, and so I don't know how to forward it to you. Let's look at some of the polls. Like here is CNN. This is a flash poll. 63% of registered voters who watched Tuesday debate say that that Harris outperformed Trump. Pre-debate, it was 50-50. In terms of which candidate they supported or thought would win, and then it was 63-37%.
That was me. I was 50-50. I thought it'd probably be a draw, and I think Harris won decisively.
Let's go to the Washington Post. They got a focus group. This is pretty impressive. How the debate views, this is swing state voters.
Yep.
So this is really, look, it's a focus group, so you don't know like how representative these people are. I'm sure the Post did the best that they could in terms of like making it demographically sort of like, but demographically speaking, I don't know if there are, they found, let's put it this way. Pre-debate, they had 12 people who were probably Harris. They had 10 people who were probably Trump. So it's a little bit weighted, right? I mean, it's in favor of Harris there. 3 people who were neither. Post-debate, it appears as those 3 people were unchanged, the neithers.
Well, I think they might have moved. I think you might have had people move from probably Trump to neither, and then neither.
It's possible.
That would make more sense.
Because the probably Harris went down by 2 because the definitely Harris went up by 5.
Right.
So 2 people from the probably Harris, and we're guessing here, moved into the definitely Harris. And then 3 people, or maybe actually what happened is 5 people went from probably Harris to definitely Harris, and 4 people moved from probably Trump to probably Harris, or maybe they went into neither. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is she gained significantly, both in terms of intensity of support and in just general leaning support from this, according to the Washington Post thing. Now, just to be fair, Newsmax, here is Newsmax. Trump won the debate 45% to 34%. That
from
was
the Daily Express?
The Daily Express. Now, I don't know who the Daily
Express is a right-wing rag out of the UK.
Interesting. So I would be curious what the rating is on their methodology.
But
yeah,
there's
that's
also
what I would go to for American polling.
there is a Newsmax snap poll that somebody sent me. To be fair, and I don't know if this is real, but have you found it? The Newsmax snap poll. Oh, maybe it's a joke, but maybe it was a joke. But it showed 93% to 6 said that Harris that Trump won the. Well, on Newsmax, maybe not.
Maybe not.
They could have just. Yeah, here it is. This is.
Oh, on Newsmax, they showed this.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, case closed then.
Yeah, there you go.
Wait, so that's vote. So
Now it's unclear who they could have just done like the Newsmax newsroom, and that's who they pulled.
Well, there's a link below the Chiron there that I think was the sort of like the link to go. And
Yes.
Vote.newsmax.com.
Oh, so it's a Newsmax like Twitter poll.
Viewer, yeah, exactly.
So viewers who were watching got that link, and they were watching on Newsmax, and those were the results that they get.
Just like to say to those 6% of Kamala Harris voters watching and responding to Newsmax polls.
Mix up the media diet a little bit.
Honestly, if 6% of Newsmax viewers who voted in this thought Harris won the debate, that's actually a pretty good sign for her.
That is.
Yeah, Daily Express is like a Nigel Farage UKIP boosting party. So,
well, takes all types of people. What should we do here? Should we do some of these other clips?
Sure.
Oh yeah, we got to do some of the reactions.
6.
This is no. Let's go to this number 3. This is the Fox News voter panel. Is this Frank Luntz? Is there? No, this is just the Fox News voter panel. I don't know what the name of the host is, and this is probably not what you want to hear on Fox if you're Donald Trump.
And these are undecided voters. It's a focus group here. It was conducted by here we go. It's a focus group done by Fox News, I guess. So I'm not exactly sure where these voters are from, but.
How many of you say Kamala Harris won after everything you saw tonight? Raise your hands high. Ooh. How many of you say Donald Trump won? Raise your hands high.
Ooh.
Okay. Is that everybody? Let me do this again. How many say Kamala Harris won? Raise your hands high. I didn't see everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. How many of you say Donald Trump won?
Ooh.
Okay. So most of you say Kamala Harris.
Oh yeah, in fact, double the number. I think it's closer to like there were 4 that were for Trump, and there's how many people there? Like
Mediaite says in the right above it that it's 12 out of 17.
Okay, yeah,
that believe that Harris won.
All right, so keep playing that. What's going on?
How many of you say Donald Trump won? Okay, so most of you say Kamala Harris. I want to start by talking just for a second about Kamala Harris. How many of you say Kamala Harris met your expectations tonight? She did what you wanted her to do. Raise your hand if you agree with that. How many say she did not meet your expectations?
Well, those are people who.
Okay, so she won, but she didn't necessarily meet your expectations.
Pause it for a second. Okay.
What did she not
Let me just tell you how I was like unbelievably stupid. If presumably these people all came in, if 12 of them think that Harris won, she could have exceeded their expectations. In fact, there were more people who said she didn't meet my expectations than said that Donald Trump won, which clearly means that a couple of people are like, I was surprised. My expectations were, this is like, they're so dumb on this network. It's unbelievable. This is their expert on the focus group.
We're simulating knowledge here.
Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
How many say she did not meet your expectations?
Okay, so people who thought that she won.
But she didn't necessarily meet your expectations. What did she not do? Yeah.
She wasn't very specific when asked certain things. She skirted around certain issues, but she knows how to pull at your heartstrings. She knows how to be dramatic in a way that will touch the heart of Americans while avoiding the hot button questions.
Okay, you want to say something about that?
I was going to say, yeah, she she put a good performance for the people watching at home. But ultimately, she and President Joe Biden has been in office for 3 years now, going on 4 years, and they have yet to do anything. Executive orders have been signed. All these policies that she's saying she's going to implement on day one of presidency. Why did she have to wait until January 20th to do that?
Okay. So I want to talk about this. You're saying that she was light on specifics, heavy on heartstrings. Yes. How many agree with that? She was light on specifics, but she really got into the heartstrings. Raise your hands high if you agree with that. How many felt like she got really into the specifics? Okay, so we're sort of split on this. Tell me, the other people who said that Kamala Harris did not meet your expectations, tell me what she didn't do. Yeah.
Well, I think she has like a pattern. She creates like this emotional picture, speaks passionately to kind of try to evoke emotions in a certain population that they know are kind of clamoring for like women leadership. So she does that. And then also she kind of glossed over the whole black thing because as far as I know, she was Indian, as far as I knew. And that's a major component on why people would vote for her, being, that they think she's black. But she just kind of just glossed over it. She didn't say anything about it.
How many of you agree with that? Okay.
This is the worst focus group I've ever seen.
What else? Yeah.
I mean, she's an attorney, so am I. And when she speaks like she's addressing a jury or a courtroom, right? Heavy on the detail, light on the facts, usually, right? But I think what she did effective tonight was Trump was so bad, he's just like an old suit from like 1987 right now. He just repeats himself, says the same stuff. And she's refreshing in that she's different. I think if he had a different line of attack with her, it would have been more effective. I think she won the debate from my perspective because he was so bad and he just sounds so repetitive. But I think she's weak, right? She's weak on the substance and weak on the facts.
Okay, so let's just.
So there you go. I mean, this is Fox News. He was so bad. And frankly, like, I think their strategy for reaching people like that was that. Like, you don't have to, like, I can be baseline. We're just going to make him look bad. And they did. I mean, Harris made Trump look bad by basically triggering him.
Yeah, and one guy says she's heavy on details. The first two people were saying she's all light on details, like heavy on emotion. I don't know what we were watching. She was doing everything she could not to be emotional, but it's just because...
Well, she's very...
there's something about her that makes you think that she's emotional.
She's so female-ish.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean? I'm trying to put it into... she's not hysterical, but she's sort of like a quiet hysterical. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Here is CNN's Harry Enton with their sort of polling numbers and their debate watchers who won the presidential debate.
And for their candidates, we wanted to know what debate watchers thought. CNN senior data reporter Harry Enton is here with a brand new suit, by the way.
Oh,
but
yes.
He's also running the numbers. That's a new one. I know I'm right.
It's a tan. I haven't worn this in years. I don't know if it's brand new, but it's brand new for you, and I wanted to match you.
A tan suit, by the way.
Tan and a little bit of tan.
There we go. We're matching. All right. What did you find here?
Pause it for a second. This was their, hey guys, you know how what's his face on MSNBC, Kornacki, and the other, they have these fun back and forth. Will you try some of that? Is there any way we could do a little bit of that?
It's also
he's the numbers
in the
guy.
morning.
We want it to be the numbers guy.
It's in the morning, right? So they're also doing morning show banter.
This was received.
Yeah, I'm just going to use a scientific term, and that is that the vice president crushed Donald Trump. All right, so how much did she crush him by? Look at this. First debate winner margins. Look at that. She won by a 26-point margin, nearly matching Trump's margin over Biden back in June when he won by 34 points. Very similar to Joe Biden's margin of over Donald Trump back in 2020. 20 of 32 points, and significantly higher than the 2016 margin that Hillary Clinton had over Donald Trump in their first debate, just 13 points. But the bottom line here is debate watchers, and they actually leaned a little bit more Republican than the nation as a whole, believe that Kamala Harris easily won this debate. Again, the scientific term is she crushed former President Donald Trump.
All right. Will we see, though, a change in the polls, a rise or a bump for Harris?
I think that the most likely scenario is that you will, in fact, see a rise in the polls. Why? Take a look at the last 4 times we had a first debate and look at those winners. Did they see a rise in the polls? Yes. Mitt Romney in 2012, Hillary Clinton 2016, Joe Biden 2020, and Donald Trump earlier this year. They all saw rises in the polls of 2 points or more. And given how close this race is nationally, given how close it is in the swing states, do not be surprised if Kamala Harris jumps out to a lead nationally, and don't be surprised if she jumps out to a slight, small lead in those key battleground states. It should still probably be a close race based upon history, but no doubt, at least based upon history, we should expect Kamala Harris to receive a polling bump, and a race as tight as this one, that would certainly be welcomed.
I got to think that is probably true. And I think the bigger impact is not just going to be sort of like a minor bump in the polling. The bigger impact is she's got now almost a locked in 2 weeks of guaranteed positive coverage, where the coverage was starting to get a little bit soft for her. And then if we're 2 weeks out, you're in, September 25th territory, let's just say.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, everything turns to Vance and to Walz.
Yep.
Because everybody's going to be hyping that next debate. And that's not going to be good for Trump.
I mean, that's how these things work. Like, I'm convinced that in part her slump was the fact that, the high of the convention is over, but she didn't get a very big convention bump, in part because the media coverage before this debate had been entirely about how she's not agreeing to interviews and that she's not detailed enough too, right? Like, these things can create narratives that affect the polling in very small ways and start snowballing. And, some of that criticism was valid, but to your point, this is going to be the narrative for the next, as you say, 2 weeks. Then she's got 2 weeks to bring it back to herself before we're in Walz-Vance territory. And I'm telling that's not going to go well for Vance.
Oh, I don't think so.
There's no chance.
It's gonna take us just like 2 or 3 days just to get out of the eating cats and dogs cycle. That's my guess.
I've been seeing IMs that it's all over TikTok and everybo's circulating.
Oh my God!
Cats and dogs.
It's going to be.
They're eating the dogs. The people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
And this is what you're going to also. The thing that you're going to hear now, of course, in like normal, social media. Normal society, you're going to be hearing about him like he got tricked by an internet hoax to believe that immigrants are eating cats and dogs. Now, the reality is not that he got tricked by an internet hoax that immigrants are eating cats and dogs. It's that he is trying to spur the racism and the xenophobia of his political movement to get out and vote and just using sort of narratives that stoke that. But it's going to come across as he's a crazy old man, which, okay, I think that might be, effective in many respects because sort of, his racism and xenophobia is sort of built in. But the other thing you're going to be hearing in right-wing circles for, I think for the next week is what you hear from Megyn Kelly right here. And Megyn Kelly is really crazy here. It's like she's bleeding from everywhere. Yeah.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Because those two moderators tried to sink Donald Trump tonight. The numerous fact checks on what he said and none on what she said. None. I don't remember a single fact check of anything she said, and she lied repeatedly. She just got away with it. In the moderator's eyes, that was Donald Trump's job to fact check her. That's correct. except you didn't employ that same tactic when it came to Trump. And you accused him of lying even when it was your opinion that he lied. When Trump tried to say that his comment that he lost 2020 by a whisker was him being sarcastic, David Muir actually injected saying, I didn't hear sarcasm. Who gives a shit what you heard?
Whoa.
Who died and left you political analyst in chief? You're supposed to be the objective news anchor of World News Tonight. That's a comment you make to your significant other, David, not on the debates. It didn't sound like that to me. Shut up. That is inappropriate. It's not for you to make that call. Leave it up to Kamala Harris. Leave it up to people like me who will play the soundbite and let the audience decide. But you were out of line, and they did it to him over and over and over again. And the worst piece of all of this is the obvious tactic by ABC News, which was as follows. Mr. Trump, you said something incredibly controversial and terrible. Let me remind you of what it was. Do you have any regrets or thoughts on how terrible you were? Trump answers. Vice President Harris, how bad is Trump? And then she'd answer. It happened over and over again.
So, I mean, this is just incredible to see because there was a whole freaking movie made about Bombshell, about the sexual harassment at Fox News and her being victimized by it, and like her basically being forced out because she was adversarial to Trump and because of the fact that she ended up speaking out about what Roger Ailes did to her and other women as well. But the reality is like there's no place for her to go anymore. Yeah. Like there's nothing. She tried to pivot to daytime TV. But if you recall, she like got, she left Fox News. She was on the Today Show, I think.
Yep.
And she sucked because that's like what that Hoda and those women and stuff, that's for like making people happy and showing videos of cats. And she or what recipe you should do for Halloween or whatever. And she is a cold person who also is a bigot and ended up leaving that network because she's made a bunch of past racist comments about Santa being white or whatever. Like she's a right winger, but she tried to pivot and failed, and now there's no place where she can carve out that middle ground, right?
Now she's just taking Tim Pool's.
I mean,
now
honestly, she's got to interview Dave Rubin multiple times. That I'm not sure anybody deserves that.
I mean, yeah, she's doing.
She flopped, and then she just has to be a standard Republican now because there's no way to differentiate yourself here. She's sucked back into the Trump black hole because she has to make money.
I think that she may have a point with Muir saying it didn't sound sarcastic to me. I think really what would have been more appropriate for him to go like, really? I'll
be honest, I just watched it and it did not sound sarcastic to me.
Well, do you have it? Let's put it up. Let's let the people decide. Because of course, saying it's sarcastic, I guess if you're Muir, you could have said, in what way is that sarcastic? I don't get it.
Yeah.
But here is the original clip.
Oh, I see. At a Moms for Liberty event.
I mean, honestly, we got millions of more votes than we did in the first election. We did great in the first one, we won. And I was told we got 63 million votes in the first election. I was told that we get 63 million votes, same number, there's no way we can be defeated. I got 10 or 12 million votes more than that, more than anybody had ever got. We got the most votes of anybody, of any sitting president in history. And he beat us by a whisker. And it was a terrible thing. They used COVID to I mean,
he says it was a terrible thing, and they used COVID as if, like, if it was sarcastic, you wouldn't start listing why you got beat by a whisker.
Yeah.
Didn't sound sarcastic to me.
That didn't sound sarcastic to me either. I'm not even clear.
Kind of surprised, actually.
Yeah. That's weird. He is maybe so he thinks sarcastic means lispy because he is getting a little bit like sort of in that Italy.
Yes.
I wonder what's going on with that.
And we really heard that in the Elon interview.
Yep.
It seemed like he almost was like had his like dentures out or something,
Right.
Because it was a non-video format.
He's thinking about whiskers because his voice is starting to sound like the Cheshire Cat.
Tough words to say with the denture slipping.
Let's do. Oh, should we do the sitcom? Oh, yeah. This is separate. Do we have any more dealing with the debate? I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, Chris Christie actually just goes for the definitely goes for the jugular here. Yeah, Chris Christie. What is Chris Christie doing these days? Just going on morning show still?
Yeah, I
or?
was just gonna say. I think he's mostly doing correspondent stuff. If you could even
Chris
call it
Christie
that.
is on
Pundit stuff.
a revenge tour, to be fair, but also I don't know if I can find an argument with anything that he says here. He particularly seems to have an issue with Matt Gaetz and Tulsi Gabbard.
Mm-hmm.
People, talk about how Tulsi Gabbard supposedly, really handed it to Kamala Harris in the debate, and I think. Were we talking about this?
Well, we were, and it's just Tulsi Gabbard picked another woman to go after to differentiate herself. She was polling at 1%. And
it wasn't Harris's decision. Like, it's not worth it for me to.
Weigel was saying this.
Weigel
was saying she didn't engage with her, and maybe that was a mistake, I guess. But they both
Not really.
flamed out. I mean, it was more just the race was always Bernie versus Biden, and everybody was scrambling to differentiate themselves. And no one cares about Tulsi Gabbard owning Kamala Harris. No one even remembers it.
Well, I care.
Yeah.
That's why I had her.
I think people took the wrong lesson from that, which is that Harris wasn't playing her true self there. She was playing the social justice activist progressive. She's a prosecutor, and she doesn't have to pretend now that I'm that little girl who's like breaking civil rights things. I'm a prosecutor. I prosecute transnational criminal organizations. Trump is a criminal. So like it's actually like a much better setting than the primary in 2020 was.
In the primary, that's how she had to approach it, especially, by the way, because this was police brutality was like at the forefront
George Floyd,
of things. And her prosecutorial background was a real liability in that primary. Now it's an asset for her against Trump. So Tulsi's attacks on her make no sense in this year of our Lord 2024. But I'm happy Trump hired her because it went so badly.
Well, here is Chris Christie commenting on that.
So, Governor Christie, you heard the debate, remarkable debate. Bottom line, what'd you think?
She was exquisitely well prepared. She laid traps, and he chased every rabbit down every hole instead of talking about the things that he should have been talking about. This is the difference between someone who's well prepared and someone who's unprepared. Whoever did debate prep for Donald Trump should be fired. He was not good tonight at all. And what Harris did was what she had to do, which was to prove that she belonged on that stage. She has a voice that wants to try to unite the country. And Donald Trump spent more time talking about people eating pets, people at his rallies, and whether he had more or less than he did about the economy. And that is a huge fail tonight. I think what we're going to see is that Kamala Harris is now being seen by a lot of voters as a potential president. That's what she needed to accomplish tonight. Trump better get to work or he's going to lose this election.
Characteristically blunt assessment from Governor Chris Christie. Thank you, Governor.
Well, he's got no other option. Let's face it. I mean, but totally accurate. Totally accurate in this instance, in my estimation.
Chris Christie, also a prosecutor back in his day. So, I mean, he can recognize when a lawyer handles somebody like that.
Yeah, when a perp has been caught.
Yep.
All right, let's just play this one clip and then we're going to get out of here. This is just a bonus thing. We've been talking about a lot of serious stuff.
Mm-hmm.
As some of you know, I was a failed sitcom actor.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the days. I did a bunch of pilots, couple episodes on air. And so when I come across a sitcom that I think is funny, sometimes there's a little bit of like jealousy and resent. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, you've told Tim Pool all about this.
I talked to Tim. Tim and I talk about
Probably
this.
not the best outlet for that.
But I probably shouldn't. But I can't help myself. He's got a lot of wisdom.
Such a great listener.
But I'm trying to get past it, trying to get over the resent and the regret, and appreciate funny stuff for funny stuff. And this is a clip of a sitcom I've came across on Twitter, X, and I thought I'd share. A right-wing religious activist, Janet Porter, has been working on this sitcom for like 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
And this is, I think, I'm not sure which episode this is. But it is one that's around voting for Trump. And here she is trying to convince her boyfriend to vote for Trump. This is funny stuff. Totally safe for work.
I'm what you call apolitical. That's like being neutered, right? Well, don't tell me you're a Trump fan. I like the guy. Well, I don't like what he said about... Watch what he's done. Actions are what matter. He's pro-life. Well, that's great, but that's just a single issue. A single issue? Yes. Right, the right to life is a priority issue. It's a prerequisite issue. It's what makes every other right possible. What good is the best education or free health care if you're dead? She has a point. Well, don't you think he brags a bit too much? I never noticed. He's got a lot to brag about. Look, I stay out of politics, all right? I don't even think I'm registered to vote. To stay out of politics is to let the Marxists control your life, your health, our country. How can you date a guy that doesn't even vote? Look. Trump.
Pause it for a second. Now, this is what I find really fascinating about this. Is like, no, I get it. You have a laugh track because you still think it's 1984.
The laugh track sounds better than their delivered lines in the microphone.
The audio quality is not great. But what is the joke that you put the laugh track in that is, just go back here. I'm just curious as to like, okay, like I can see like, okay, they put a laugh track in where the jokes are not funny. I mean, you hear that on like a lot of like Ben Shapiro projects, but I'm not even clear that it's almost as if they said like, we need to outsource the laugh track work on this. Let's send it to a different country, maybe where they don't speak English, and just when you hear a pause, put in a laugh track.
Or have AI do it based on pauses.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm unclear what the joke is. Oh, you date a guy who doesn't vote? Go ahead.
To stay out of politics is to let the Marxists control your life, your health, our country. How can you date a guy that doesn't even vote? Look. Trump is for liberty. He's for Israel. He's for the Second Amendment. They want to take your guns. I don't have any guns. How can you date a guy who doesn't even own a gun? Well,
okay, that's good.
As much as I'm enjoying this lovely little conversation, I'm gonna go. How can you date a guy that doesn't want to make America great? I don't know.
Time to break up. Oh, so they didn't even convert him.
This is a touching segment of the thing where she's going to have to decide to break up with the guy.
So that's Janet. That's the activist herself, and she casts that guy as her boyfriend.
Is she the activist herself? Because I
just looked it up. Yeah.
That would track because she's not a great actress.
It's called "What's a Girl to Do."
Interesting.
Yeah, Matt pointed this out in the freeze frame here.
They're holding their scripts, right?
I think the guy with his legs up, his feet up on the table, is holding a piece.
And hers is on the table.
Oh, right. Janet's actually is probably on the table right there, below the.
We would do that, but we would do that in run-throughs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe try to learn the lines a little bit. I mean, I understand even having it if you got a lot of lines, but like you're constantly looking at it.
Not for the final cut, Sam. You wouldn't have the scripts in the shot.
I mean, there were times, honestly, where you would, if there was a place where you like, let's say I'm behind a computer, I would have like lines right there. Like, I mean, sitcom, I've done that, definitely for movies and for sometimes like when it was a one camera show, you don't have much time to look at the script.
Right.
But that's pretty blatant.
Maybe a little. Maybe try to dress it up a little bit.
Right. Like put it out of frame.
Maybe you like have a newspaper or something.
Right.
Yeah, that's the old trick. But this is, people are not. What newspaper are they? The Epoch Times.
They're just dangling a SM58 above it.
Well, I certainly hope that this sitcom gets picked up, but it won't because Hollywood is all liberals.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
So are all the sound engineers.
Portland Dude, I watched that series, Kevin Can F Himself, which takes place in Worcester. I think Settled Area would be a great name for a side podcast. Oh, Jonathan Armstead, I watched the full sitcom on Rumble. It is terrible and ends with a 20-minute PSA. Oh, I think Jonathan Armstead may have been the one who sent it to us. Also,
we could maybe do a watch.
The gal is 61 and still dating in the episode, and she isn't doing it funny like the Golden Girls.
Oh, right. Well, I didn't want to be mean, but I mean, she cast like a 27, 30-year-old, like,
Yeah,
jacked
exactly.
actor.
Suburban dating scene for
a hunk.
Yeah.
Almost retired people.
DSA Aaron in Atlanta. My girlfriend watched the debate coverage of y'all last night. Her assessment is Emma is amazing and Sam is a silver fox.
There you go.
Thank you. Nicola, Emma should go read what the Swifties were saying on her subreddit.
Oh,
about Emma?
Oh, about me?
No, I'm
I don't
No,
know.
oh God.
The letter hack, a bit of house cleaning. I did not IM the show yesterday during John's call. If there is no then it ain't the letter hack. Although I do generally agree with said IM. Well, there you go. Snarkorsky. Regarding immigrants, Karen refugees from Myanmar were settled in Huron, South Dakota a couple decades ago and helped reverse decades of population loss in the town.
Yep.
Maybe that's Karen refugees? I don't know. The town is growing again, and you can also get Southeast Asian food in Huron, definitely not possible before. Similarly, you can get Ethiopian food at 4 or 5 restaurants in Sioux Falls because of the 1,000+ East African refugees settling there a couple of decades ago.
Yeah, engendering hate is literally killing small towns ideologically, and if we just fostered a more welcoming, which America's prepared to do with the Ellis Island Statue of Liberty stuff. That's a primary way we could, fulfill the promise of America.
Courier 11 second. After last night's debate, it seems to me that Trump is too emotional to serve as president. We can't have our leader going into hysterics. It's really weird how right after the 2020 election, Harris seemed to turn into a total space cadet. And then the moment she got the top of the ticket, Senator Harris, who dismantled people in hearings, is back. I think you have a different role. I don't know. Calvin from Waterford. Sam has fallen from the coconut tree.
Since we probably don't want to carry the Taylor Swift saga more days than we need to, Dave Rubin has weighed in on it. If we want to,
we should definitely hear what Dave Rubin says about this.
See the measured response that he has to.
So he's not on vacation.
No, Dave Rubin is back from vacation. Do we have the clip where he addresses him being cited in a DOJ indictment for taking nearly $5 million over the course of a year to produce how many videos was it? Not many.
We're still waiting on that.
4 a month?
For Dave, yeah.
So, I don't know, probably 50 to 100 videos.
And then let's talk a little bit about how this fits into the pop culture part of this, because pop culture is a huge driver of the cultural narrative.
Pause it for 1 second. I'm getting interested in how Dave's beard keeps changing the colors. Am I the only one who notices that?
Maybe.
Okay,
a huge driver of the cultural narrative. Well, here's the tweet from Colin Rugg about the Taylor Swift thing, and we'll get back to it in a second. So as we referenced before, Taylor Swift endorses Kamala Harris on Instagram after the debate on ABC, proudly calls herself a childless cat lady. Elon Musk, who they hate, he saw that, and he wrote this: "Fine, Taylor, you win. I will give you a child and guard your cats with my life." So he's mocking, he's exposing the ridiculousness, right? It's like, Taylor Swift, you are a young, pretty girl. Do you know what the gang members from Venezuela do to young, pretty girls? It ain't pretty.
Wait, pause
so
it
what
for
do
a
we
second.
have to
Wait
do?
a second. What?
He's saying that hordes of Venezuelan gang members are
gonna rape
raping
her.
white blonde
Well,
women.
yes,
Clan
no,
type
I
hysteria.
understand that that hysteria is operative in the Dave Rubin circles. But what is he saying, that Elon Musk is like claiming I'll protect you from rape?
No. Well, in his exact tweet, he implies that he might rape her. So, I mean, he's going to give her a child. Is that?
I don't think that'd be willingly. I think Dave just kind of moved on from the Elon thing because there's not a whole lot you can say. He's mocking. It's weird. It's weird what Elon said. Your boy Elon. And I wonder if there's any financial relationship.
I almost think he's saying it's somewhat of like this the subtext of being like, come be with me instead of the Venezuelan migrant party.
Yeah,
It says a lot about the psychology, I think.
A little bit.
Is there any more to this? Let's see.
Do to young, pretty girls, it ain't pretty. So what do we have to do? We have to keep finding each other to whatever extent
Locals,
we can.
baby.
We have to keep waking people up. It is the only chance we have in these remaining 60 days. And then
All right, that was pretty lazy.
I think he's starting to get the sense. I mean, after that debate, these guys must be very demoralized. I wonder if Dave is going to raise his prices on having to shill for Trump. If I'm Dave Rubin, more than any of these people, I'm a little bit nervous right now because people might be nervous to finance him a little bit more. And where is he going to go after this? It's going to be interesting. If Trump loses, I think it's going to be difficult for him. But there it is. Let's read a couple more IMs. Emma's distant cousin. I wouldn't say all of Sam's sitcom work was bad. Who can forget the cultural powerhouse that was Assy McGee? Now that's sarcasm. Chow's Pancake. Did Dave say we got to keep waking up? Is he telling us to go woke? Clayton Mad Dog. Google search trends went up tremendously during the debate for Project 2025. Are they eating pets in Springfield and migrant gangs in Aurora? The top results for all those searches don't bode well for Trump. Oh, okay, sure. All right. I'm going to wrap this up in 5 more IMs. BB Teach. Why do Democrats insist on getting the details about policies? The exact dollar amount or percentage. People don't absorb that. They sound like a laundry list. I thought the amount of policy descriptions that she gave was probably the right amount. I don't think that when people are watching a debate like this, that they are, that undecideds are looking for the details of the policy, but they do want to believe that the person knows them and can express them and has a handle and a sort of like an ease. So, like, I don't care, I don't think someone cares, like, are we sending Javelin, missiles or Abrams tanks as opposed to some other? But when she articulates it, I think people go like, oh, she knows the military stuff. And the same with, I think, like, these details of policy. So you deliver a little bit, but you don't deliver a lot. Now, this is not for me. And, I don't even think people make an assessment of the nature of the policies on these things. I just don't think that's the audience for a debate. I don't need to tune into a debate to find out who I'm going to vote for. I tune into a debate to find out what I think other people are going to vote for. I think that's a lot of people who tune into the debate, to be honest with you. My brain hurts. ABC moderators turned out to be journalists. CNN is full of self-promoters and talking heads. Parasocialist. Trump pretending to be anti-abortion is so funny because he's probably paid for more abortions than any other president. Maybe all others combined, ignoring JFK. Labor Lover 420. Music snobs everywhere are with you, Emma. Keep fighting the good fight. Vinny P. I have half an ounce of respect for Chris Christie because he never changed and he kind of had to try and win to save his party while every other Republican glazed Trump, which led to the GOP downfall we're seeing. I wonder how old you are, Vinny, because you may not remember the 2016 election where Chris Christie literally was the guy who would go out and get McDonald's for Donald Trump.
Yeah, and knocked off all his primary opponents.
I was just saying, if I'm not mistaken, Christie was the first to endorse Trump, actually.
Yeah. He ran.
To Trump.
A Square. You guys were so fantastic last night, making it possible for us to listen to the Trumpster fire past his bedtime and off his meds. Kamala had catnip for Trump in almost every answer, and he followed it every time. Good on her for getting in his personal space with that handshake and then his head. My favorite moment of your analysis was Matt doing the British voice about shooting the king's geese. Oh my God, reminded me of my favorite bit with Michael and Sam on Carson in the Founding Fathers. Got my November tickets. John from San Antonio, your fan base is us, so please show up. Let's see here. Dank Blunts. I'm behind, but that guy's name is a racist troll. Yes, we figured that out. When we release the clip, we will try and mute his name. Iowa Ryan, you all love Kamala so much. I don't know how you can with Gaza going on. I just can't get there. I mean, I think, look, you have to, I mean, speaking for myself, I don't love Harris. This is I don't, there's honestly no politician, maybe Bernie Sanders. I mean, I don't love, but I mean, I really do like Bernie Sanders. I think
recognize a giant contribution might be a better way to put it than love.
Yeah. No, I just don't. We're enthusiastic because, in my mind, Kamala Harris must win. Because if she doesn't, Donald Trump wins. That's binary. I also believe that she could break with Joe Biden on Gaza, but that would be a political machination that wouldn't, in my mind, necessarily in any way inhibit her from functioning just like Joe Biden. My suspicion is that when she gets into office, she is going to change the policy that Joe Biden has followed. I don't think it's going to be dramatic, but I think it could be significant. I do believe there is a greater than 1% chance that she's going to be better than Donald Trump. In fact, I think it's almost guaranteed that she would be better than Donald Trump in that position. On Gaza, but other things. How can it get worse, you ask? Well, Donald Trump can say, Israel, you've got the green light in annexing the West Bank. We're going to provide less aid for Palestinians. We're not going to in any way even pay lip service to the idea of Palestinian autonomy or rights. It can be worse. And incidentally, I'm not going to cut off the weapons to you under any circumstance. I mean, that's what can happen with Donald Trump. There is more of a constituency that Kamala Harris has to, that has a closer proximity to Kamala Harris that is against this policy. I don't think there's a ton of people. So it's not a question of like how do I love Kamala Harris? Because I don't. I think there's a binary choice to be made. And that is that she must win. That's it.
Simply
it sucks.
relative.
It sucks. But it's better than having Kamala Harris where she's at now and lose. I would much prefer, President Ilhan Omar. But that's not happening. Not this. That's
why we didn't spend a lot of time on the Gaza section, because it's frankly, I don't know, not a whole lot you could say.
She just delivered exactly what, I think some combination of what's on her website. And ABC was not going to delve into it any deeper. Donald Trump simply said that she's horrible for Israel, and that he thinks that Israel won't exist in 2 years. Now, I don't know if he meant everybody blown up in Israel. He also said he thinks she's bad for the Arab population as well. I don't know if he meant that they all go. I don't know if he meant like
that was weird. Yeah, he thinks like Iran's going to bomb everybody. That's kind of where he.
It's unclear to me.
With that.
But the idea that Israel, and by Israel existing, I think some people say I don't know what the idea of Israel not existing means to people who think it's like some type of, threat on people's lives. But I think the question is Israel going to exist in the fundamental structure that it is now 2 years ago? In other words, in 2 years from now, could you have a multi-ethnic democracy that is not a Jewish nationalist state, where you have an apartheid system in addition to the occupation and the sort of terrorism from settlers and the fascism? I would like to believe that there's going to be a future where Israel exists as a multi-ethnic democracy. I don't know, I don't care about the name of the country. I don't think you're ever going to, I don't think it's realistic to assume that everybody in Israel is going to move out any more than it was realistic to presume that of Afrikaners in South Africa.
And frankly, one person, one vote, plenty of them will move on their own if you do something like that. But.
Certainly a certain cohort will. So it's not a question of you all love Kamala so much. It's, from my perspective anyways, there is no opportunities with a Trump administration. There just isn't.
He's not even pretending there is.
And for anything, but in particular in the context of Gaza or Israel. I mean, I think we are on the cusp of, and I said this, before Kamala Harris was the candidate, that Joe Biden will be the most sort of ardent Zionist Democrat that we will ever see in the future, ever again. And I am quite convinced that Harris, I don't think she's going to go far enough in terms of my perspective on it, but she's going to move in a direction. The trajectory of Democratic politics are just that way.
Yeah, and it's just not, I mean, if Trump wins, I think the best you hope, because I think what happens with the West Bank, West Bank could be annexed, the sort of situation where a lot of people in Israel want. If Trump's in office, there's no, like you said, no part of his constituency that's against that. And the Democrats are just going to say, well, see, elections have consequences. You should have let us win. And whereas, if you're even somebody who wants to prove the Democratic Party is pointless, you would rather have them in power because, A, you have a chance that they might be able to change things, which I think Biden is most committed, or you prove the point and you don't let them hide behind the Republicans did this, you should have voted for us harder last time.
Jay Tingle. Janet Folger Porter is a longtime Dominionist. That's why she's so funny. All right, 5 more of these. Hester, does a new quiet guy in one of their Republican meetings raise his hand and say, maybe we should pay a couple of people to eat a cat? honestly, at this point.
I mean, some of that money, yeah. Here's $3,000. Just
I'm not convinced they're not going to do that.
Sam, do you remember that episode of Mad Men where they pay those two women to fight over the ham in a store to like?
Oh yeah,
it's like a similar pitch.
502 Drew. Did you record the CNN focus group you were talking about after signing off last night? I did record it. Did we take any clips from it? We recorded it. We just didn't use it. Ernie Burns poet. Elon Musk has loads of kids he doesn't really like or want. Is he talking about unloading some of the pre-existing ones? Yeah. Someone once told me that so-and-so wants to have your baby. And I was like, they can have it. You know, there are times at the beginning when you don't get much sleep and you're looking for any type of relief. Leftist Bestos, moderator, President Biden, what's your position on abortion? Biden, beep, beep. And the final IM of the day. New dad, maybe TYT will take Dave back. Ugh, I have seen some takes.
Unity, baby.
I have seen some takes coming from that. Who knows who's going to join who? But maybe we'll talk more about that later another
Get
time.
the band back together.
Exactly.
Oasis is back. Come on.
Anything is possible, folks.
Don't look back in anger.
Anything is possible. Bradley, Matt, Emma had to run. Great job today. Great job last night, guys. Folks, Emma will be here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and the lie bar, but finding out won't make me feel any better. Yeah, I know the clock is ticking, but the Nets are gonna kick in, and my pilot light shining bright. I guess somewhere the choice was made for the option where you don't get paid, for the road that bends before it finally breaks you. I guess somehow I lost my drive